Today we're talking to Dr. Jeffrey Hallazgo, known as Dr. Jeff. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, tell me how you got involved in College Church.
Well, goes back to the mid '80s or so. I was a resident over at Jewish Hospital back when it was Jewish Hospital, and I lived in the neighborhood, and I was looking for a place to go to mass, and some friends of mine took me to College Church. I'd been going to the cathedral because it was close to the hospital, and the first time I went, it was different, and it just, for some reason, the mass there spoke to me, and I kept going ever since. Even when I moved out of the neighborhood, I kept going, and it seemed like such a majestic place that I wanted to get involved. So back in 1993, I talked to Art Taylor, who was running the liturgical ministry at the time, and wanted to become a lector, and I became a lector, and I've been doing it ever since. So it's been off and on for 28 years now that I've been lucky enough to read at the church.
Excellent. That's wonderful. So that would be something that parishioners might recognize you as.
Yeah, and I always kind of get a little grief every so often from the choir. It's in a nice way. They kind of, a couple people say they like to break me out for special occasions and things like that. So.
Nice. So tell me about something that was a key moment for you in your own faith journey.
Well, I think that was mainly it. Was going to College Church. I've always considered College Church my spiritual home. I belonged to parishes, obviously, and I went to Catholic high school at Priory, and so I had a good, strong Catholic education. But it just didn't resonate with me, or it didn't touch me like it did when I got to College Church. I always thought that occasionally when thoughts of moving out of town would come up, part of those thoughts would be, well, I'm going to end up leaving College Church, which was kind of annoying because I've been to masses around the country, and obviously there's no other, our mass is so unique, and our church is so unique, and our choir is so good, and our services are so terrific that I don't think I'd ever be able to find anywhere else that would touch me like College Church has. So I think, to answer your question, just going to a place like College Church has been very pivotal in my spiritual journey.
Okay, tell me also about another institution in St. Louis you've been involved with a long time. How did you get involved with Kdhx?
Well, that was kind of on a whim. When I was a kid, I always liked radio, and I was either going to go into radio or into medicine. And my dad, who was a physician, kind of steered me into medicine, so I ended up doing that. It was a nice little fallback. But I didn't quite get the radio thing out of my system. And back in 2001, Kdhx had a host who was hosting the morning show who was retiring. And so they held an open audition that they broadcast over the air for people who would be interested in doing the morning show. And I just thought I'd give it a shot and put in a tape. And they auditioned me. And next thing you know, I got an email saying, how would you like to do our Thursday morning show? They divvied the morning show up into 5 different hosts, and I was lucky enough to get Thursday morning, and this was back in August of 2001. And 2 years later, they wanted to move me to afternoons, so I went to Wednesday afternoons in July of 2003, and I've been lucky enough to be there ever since.
What are your sources for those great jingles that you've got going? For those who don't know anything about the show. I know about the show, but maybe the folks watching may not.
Well, I was always, growing up in the 60s, I always liked 60s top 40 radio. So when I did the radio show and I found out there was a company in Dallas who was still producing those jingles, I bought a nice little package of them, and I used them, and they custom made some jingles for me using the call letters for the radio station, and they've been kind of like a signature for the radio show. And I've been there have been times that I've wanted to retire the jingles because I've been doing them for almost 20 years, but people yeah, occasionally I would go without playing them, and people said, "Where are the jingles?" So I guess those jingles set my show apart from all the other shows on the station. So I've kept them, and I've been pretty happy with them.
Yeah, they're very distinctive.
Yeah.
How would you describe the Big Bang?
Well, it's kind of evolved over the years. It started out as mainly a '60s R&B and soul show, but and some pop thrown in as well. But it wouldn't be the hits. The trademark of the show is I would play the deeper stuff that people didn't recognize from artists that they did recognize. Just to point out that some of that music was just as good or better than some of the hits that people knew, and it turned some people onto some cuts that they had never heard of before. And over time, I've started incorporating some newer music, and so now it's just pretty much a mishmash of the older stuff and some new stuff. In fact, some artists around the country and record labels who are breaking new music are contacting me in order to debut some of their music on the show, and some of those songs have gone on to become some of those acts have gone on to become fairly successful. So I'd like to play that. I'd like to think I played a hand in it, but so it's kind of evolved. The '60s stuff is still there, but the newer stuff is becoming more important and more prominent as the show has gone on, which it's it'll be 19 years. It's been 19 years since I've been on Wednesday afternoon. So
that's really cool. And what time to what time should people be tuning in?
It's 4 to 7 p.m. Central Time on Kdhx. Shameless plug.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it's a neighborhood institution. This is a show all about parish and community, and you kind of check both boxes for us there.
Yeah, and it's nice. It's nice that the radio station is just a couple of blocks away. So when I leave and I'm pulling out, the church is right there. So it's a nice little bonus.
Yeah. Do you when you encounter somebody who may not know anything about College Church, how would you describe it to someone who would say, "Oh, tell me what that place is like"?
Well, I just tell them about just the whole experience of the Mass in general. I mean, there's just something obviously very different from it. Masses have a tendency to be fairly mundane and repetitive, but here it always seems fresh. The choir is always, all you have to do is, sometimes, music at Masses can be fairly, blasé and mundane, and we can never say that about our choir. I keep telling everybody that we've got the best choir in town. Mm-hmm. And I cannot wait until the day that we can hear them again, because it just seems very empty now that we can't get together at Mass and we can't hear the choir. But I keep telling everybody to come by and experience the Mass for themselves, and people have listened to me, and they've started going. It just seems like a more deep, rich spiritual experience at our church. And I'm proud to tell people that.
How have you been coping with all of the staying at home and all the rest?
Well, I haven't been, because I'm actually, I guess if you consider me a frontline worker, I work at urgent care over at Mercy. And so we see these people every single day. So I have to put on PPE and, gown up and, see 20 or 30 of these people who a day or more who may have or may not have COVID, but the numbers have picked up, unfortunately, in the past month or so, and we're all kind of nervous as to what we're heading into down the road. So it's been kind of tough, but hopefully Lord willing, we'll get through this unscathed. Physically, at least. Yeah.
Do you have any particular patron saints that you're relying on at this point?
No, not any particular. I mean, just anyone who's out there. But we always lean on Psalm 91, which is a great reading at this time, and it always there's a particular verse in there that says,
you know, though 1,000 may fall at your side, you know, near you, this will not come. And so we just gotta, you know, hold on to that for dear life. You know, that's something I refer to every single day. I read it, you know, before I go to work, and read it, you know, before I go to sleep. So, yeah, especially at a time like this, a reading like that and a passage like that is very, you know, very soothing and reassuring.
Well, we'll be praying for you and all of the folks that you work with and work for. So, Dr. Jeff, thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Angela. Appreciate it.